All right, here we go. Welcome everybody. Welcome. Excited to do this, Nathan. Oh, great to have you on, man. I know we've been talking about this for a little while, so excited to have you jump on here and spend some time with us.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited and thanks for the opportunity. It's yeah, it has been a little while coming, but I'm glad that we're doing it today. So
Absolutely, man. I mean, every time I talk with you, you've got something new and exciting going on. So, again, as people join, would love for you guys to be able to introduce yourself in the chat. I know a lot of people are going to watch this on replay as well, but anybody on live, we want to give you guys an opportunity to ask Nathan questions as well. I'm trying to do these more routine. We've got so many outside experts that we want to bring in and just help our community. No matter if you're interested in real estate investing, you're wholesaling, flipping, buy and hold, you're more of a real estate agent. Like, we can be a tool on the DealMachine front to help you do many things when it comes just to generating new opportunities, whether it be new deals, new listings, or anything in between. But outside of that, we're just a tech tool, right? We can give you kind of technology to help you be more efficient and effective. But in the end, we want to give you education to be successful way beyond just using our tool. So our goal is to bring on outside experts like Nathan right here to come in and be able to help you guys out, help take your game to the next level. Nathan, I love, if you don't mind starting off, I'd love to hear more about your background, how you got into real estate. Just give the people some context on where you're coming from, and that'll be able to tee up some really good questions for you too.
yeah, for sure, man. So my background, well, I started back in real estate in 2009. When biggest bubble and all that stuff that happened
Yeah.
in 2008 and stuff. People, I was in the corporate world. Um, Having a great life, doing all this stuff, had corporate car and all this other stuff, but something was missing. And from a young age, I was that weird kid that got architecture books for Christmas. So I just naturally gravitated right back to real estate because I loved it. I loved originally, of course, right then it was all about, I worked with a lot of investors and stuff back in 2009 till about 2012 when the market shifted, but jumped in full force. And struggled a little bit right in the beginning, like most agents do, and then figured out my path and my way about doing this, and never looked back. I actually made more money my first year in real estate than I ever did in my corporate job, which was great.
Amazing.
Yet along the way, did really good. I was like back when video and all that stuff were just hitting like Facebook. I was like day one, like, hey, what's up? Hopping on, shooting videos, which led me to actually start teaching a lot of agents back in like 2011, 2012, how to actually go about using social media and technology to help them further their business. Cause there was a couple of months. I mean, I was generating over 1,000 leads a month, just organically.
Yeah.
And it was exhausting as an agent. It was a solo at the time, which, led me
Good
to
problem.
actually go out and build a team and built a real estate team in 2012, had a partner. We ended up creating a tech company to help agents with this, like expedite the process. That led to actually running I stepped into KW, was a team leader for about 5 years, and did that for about 5 years. Stepped away from that and really jumped in with a really dear friend of mine and partnered up alongside of him and helped grow the organization that he had to international coaching company. And so director of growth with them and partnerships, just helping really change the game of real estate, right? Like we've always had a passion around that and really making a big impact. I know one of my personal brands it's called Be the Pebble, and it's how we show up every day and can make a massive impact in this world. So that's kind of all led me up to our conversation today and talking about the challenge, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, here in a little bit.
Incredible, man. Tell me more. I mean, I know you sound like you got off to a pretty fast start in the real estate, game. Can you tell us more on, what made you successful there? What were kind of some of the systems and processes you were putting in place? Like, I know there's a fair number of people watching this that are probably in that boat, like trying to make that jump, right? So, yeah, and then tell us more.
Well, I started my first business when I was 14, so I had a little bit of experience with starting a business and everything. But when I jumped into real estate, it was probably the most different business that I'd ever started, right? Because you didn't have like an actual product, like you were just selling yourself. And that's probably one of the big things that I always tell people is like, don't worry about selling a house. You have to sell yourself first and the value that you provide. So what I had to learn the hard way, I think my first probably 6 months, I mean, I have to tell you, I was banging my head against a wall, trying everything I possibly could because I'd walked away from my corporate position and I was all in. I was like, okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
do this. And I got
Had to
some
figure it out.
small wins and I had to figure it out. So, I mean, I did door knocking, I did cold calls, expireds for sell by owners. I had some success with that. And then I personally fell in love with networking and really just connecting with people and building deep relationships. And that's kind of where I really started taking off. And then, of course, just kind of being a nerd and kind of growing up with technology and everything, I really, really found myself thriving around the tech space. And so kind of started setting myself apart there and just really fell in love with like blogging, like, yes, old school tactics here, right? Like
Yeah.
blogging and doing that old school stuff, like with SEO and all that kind of stuff. So did really good with that back in the day. But
Nice. Yeah. And you said you were you started your first business when you were 14. What was that?
yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, you would ask this one. So I would like to say, like most boys, you go out and you start a lawn mowing business, which I had eventually. But my first
Nice.
business, and it's funny because anytime I actually do an event or I speak or something like that, I'm like, hey, let's do an icebreaker. That was my first job. I was literally an icebreaker. I went to my uncle's warehouse, and I live in Oklahoma, and this really bad ice storm had come in, and he had this warehouse district and stuff, and he had some clients coming in, and I was there and I was looking to make a little buck. And so he was like, okay, yeah, let's see how good Nathan does with this. And he said, here's a pair of gloves and a piece of like 6-foot rebar. And of course, I'm like 4.5 feet at the time. And there's a 6-foot rebar. And he's like, go out there and just break up the ice because we've got somebody coming in an hour. So I'm out there just banging this
Actual icebreaker.
ice. Oh my gosh, it was horrible. But that led because other people in the complex actually saw me doing that, and they're like, who is this kid?
Right.
led
Right.
to another person led to another person, ended up, obviously ice melted and all that stuff, but ended up sweeping a lot of warehouses around there and just doing
Yeah.
some like chores and stuff around the warehouse district, which was kind of fun. So,
Yeah.
but that
That'll
was
teach
my
you
first job.
some.
I was literally an icebreaker.
Yeah, they'll teach you some work ethic, man. I'm picturing like I have an 8, 6, and 4-year old. I'm picturing like Frozen at the beginning of that, hitting breaking the ice. That's
That's
amazing.
yeah,
Uh,
that's pretty much it.
that's
That's pretty much
hilarious.
it.
Nice. Yeah, and it is something too. Like we started our first business. I was like 18 or so, and just the more that I was doing that, I realized like, man, even if it's not even necessarily a great idea, a great business in any way, just you doing something and getting out there and getting involved in meeting people. If your intentions are right and you're trying to help others, like that's going to lead to more and more open doors that you would have never foreseen. Just by getting out there and learning, right? So, yeah. And you'd mentioned 2009 is when you got into the real estate space. Like, I know you said, hey, obviously, that there was a lot going on then. What were you thinking? Like, what made you pursue real estate then? Like, tell
Well,
us about, that kind of that jump as well.
I think I'm very much an optimist. Like I'm very much an optimist. And I looked at the industry at the time. Of course, I had a love for architecture and everything, and housing and all that stuff. I was always attracted to it. And so my natural thing was like, well, okay, what do I want to go to if I'm going to be stepping away from this company? Like, what's my thing? So when I looked at real estate, I saw just this perfect storm of people leaving the industry. It was a lot of chaos. There were so many thousands and thousands of people losing homes. And I was like, well, okay, if I can jump in right now and I can figure out how to do real estate in the worst economy of real estate ever, then I can do it whenever the market shifts, because it always does. And so I just told myself, I was like, cool, I'm going to go in. It may be hard, but I'm going to figure it out. And I did. And so I just went to it with that mentality of not like burning boats and bridges. It was just like, this is my thing. And I just dove right in.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's something. I mean, I think you've had such a great mindset. You being able to identify opportunities and really go for it. Like, is there anything you've learned there on the entrepreneurial side that you can share with our people of hey, like how do you how do you have that mindset even when ideas don't seem like they're working?
Oh man, don't get me wrong. Like there's hard days, right? Like there's hard days that come up, and anytime I'm looking at something or evaluating something, like if I'm making an offer or evaluating a business or choosing to invest in something, like I have to look at it and go, okay, like why am I doing this? So I ask myself, why am I doing this? Because I want to wake up every day excited about it. Are there things that like sometimes suck with it and like they're hard? Yes, and you gotta get through those moments. But for me, I always look at it and go at the root of everything. Like, one, how is this going to impact us? But also, how is it going to impact others? And
Mhm.
so I just look at it and go, it's bigger than just me. It's bigger than just an opportunity. And so I just tell myself that I've got to give it my all and vet that. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, okay, cool. Something else will pop up, because there's so many opportunities out there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you do a fantastic job of kind of maintaining that and looking for those opportunities and really committing there. But also, I know, again, we've had some people join. Feel free to jump in the chat, say where you're based out of. Again, we want to keep this kind of a interactive session if possible. Like, I want to be, Nathan's been awesome with his time jumping on here, and a great opportunity for you guys to ask questions too. So feel free. I don't want to hog the spotlight. I've got plenty of questions on my end, but I'm going to give everybody else an opportunity as well if you're watching this live. So, all right, so Nathan, going into we introduced you, and you can see right here the challenge that's at the bottom of the screen right here. Can you tell us more about kind of real estate agent school, like what you've got going on there, why you chose school to do this, and then in the challenge, like kind of give us some more background on this.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, man, take you back to earlier this year. I was actually, I've been a part of Facebook groups. There's tons of Facebook groups out there. There's tons of LinkedIn groups and all these communities that are out there. And what I started seeing, it was that with some of the clients that I had at the time, and in some of the other conversations I was having, people get on those groups, but they were getting very distracted. So why did I choose school? One, it was new, it was popping up, and I mean, it's been around for a couple of years, but it showed up in my feed. So I was like, I'm going to check this out. Looked at a couple other platforms and stuff, but I really like the simplicity of this. But I also like that there was no distractions to it. So it's like, yes, I can go to something and get the information that I need, or seek what I was looking for. And so I started the community originally on school, all around generating basically a nationwide network of real estate agents that want to build relationships and pass referrals. And so that's kind of where it really all started. And I did that back in, I think it was April is when we originally launched it. And we've got over 100 agents already in there, and having conversations and everything else. And so that it kind of took off. And then from there, recently I've been having a lot of conversations around, I'm stuck, I need help, I feel invisible. And so I was like, well, let's just bring back some of the old school tactics, pair it with some new school technology and strategies.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was like, you know what? Let's rebrand this thing, instead of it calling a referral network. And now we turned it over and we called it the Real Estate Agent School. Yes, it's not, it's SKOOL, so make sure if you're listening to this or whatever in the future, it's SKOOL.
To find them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that the sense of community and being able to come in, and really the accountability of that, and knowing you've got people to fall back on and ask what to do in certain situations, and really set goals together and try to hold each other accountable. Like, that is one of the top things in general when we look at our DealMachine customers, of what are the most successful ones doing, especially when they're trying to make that jump and they're newbies trying to do that first deal, or they're a brand new agent or investor. No matter what you're pursuing, if you can find other people to team up with, hold each other accountable, and check in with each other often, and have that community to lean back, to fall back on, those are all, huge factors towards success. So I love the idea of having a school, a community like that to come in and really get involved in.
Yeah. I mean, I think community is honestly, for a solopreneur, especially, like if you're a solo agent out there, and yes, you probably have a brokerage, and maybe you're virtual and you need a place to go to, or something like that. But like, having a community around you that's on a similar mission. I think I also found that too. I've always been a team person. The solopreneur life is okay for a little bit, but man, it gets lonely,
Mm-hmm.
and just having a great community around you that you can have conversation with, you can laugh with, you can bounce ideas off of. I've always fallen in love with that. And I think together, by having that sense of community and those people to bounce things around, we can all go further faster, and we can make a much bigger impact in our worlds and our communities and in our own personal lives. So that's kind of why I've always gravitated towards having a great community and surrounding myself with awesome people.
Love that, man. So, with that in mind, can you tell us more about, like I mentioned, that real estate, is it RealEstateSkool.pro, the challenge right there,
Yep.
At the bottom right here? Can you tell us more about this specific challenge, and how it's going to be helpful for people, and what it's all about?
So when we were looking at, and I was looking at like, okay, what do I really want this new community to be about if I'm relaunching it and rebranding it? And I was like, well, it's got to be more, right? Like it's got to be more than just a referral network, and we've got to have a direction and where we want to go. And one thing I started seeing, when I'll take you back to when I was 14 years old, right? What was the number one goal most people wanted, right? And still today, most people are shooting to earn six figures, right? Well, what was that magic number that we talked about for years? Well, you got to make $100,000, right? Well, $100,000 today does not go as far as it used to, right? Like $100,000 today in actuality. And I actually saw something recently here in Oklahoma for like a family of four, just to like pay the bills, have two cars, like all that kind of stuff with two kids. You had to earn around $140,000 a year just to get by. And I'm like, wow, okay, so then what's the equivalent of the new $100,000 a year? And for me, I was like, man, it's $250,000, right? Like it's 250 grand or more a year in order to not only maintain but have a great lifestyle. And I think that is what I've started seeing and having these conversations. And so I was like, well, let's create the community around that one particular mission, that vision of helping agents create $10 million a year in volume year over year consistently, while not having to like work 12-hour days and spend thousands of dollars on ads, but just take old school tactics and pair it with new school tech that gives them very simple and easy formula and strategies to follow to help duplicate it.
Love that mission. So real quick here, I saw a question from Edwin, so I'll put this in the chat here for you. Edwin had asked around DealMachine tutorial playlist, anything to get the best out of DealMachine. So two links I want to share with you here. Edwin, we've got a tutorials playlist. It's just dealmachine.com/demo-videos right there. And then we also have our office hours that we go live 4 days a week with Ryan, our head of customer success. And we've got a support chat inside the DealMachine app as well, and they can help you out there too. But want to make sure you have the tutorials playlist and the office hours, so that way you have as much support possible to implement some of the stuff Nathan's talking about here. Like, how do you take those action steps? Well, hey, he's got a challenge going on to give you the framework, but then we've got tools like DealMachine to enable your success and help you take very specific, hey, go do this, then this, then this, to go find your first deal, your first listing, and many after that. So
yeah, well, and we actually just saw, and Edwin, I don't know if you're an agent or not, or investor, or wherever you land, but if you're an agent and you're watching this right now, like Matt and I just shot the other day a great training that I'm dropping into our community that talks about how to use how to use DealMachine as that tool to go out there and generate $10 million a year in volume. Like it was a really good episode or whatever we did, but yeah, like that's going to be dropped inside the community. So if you're in real estate, you want to learn how to use DealMachine, there you go. It's going to be put inside there. So
love it. Yeah, because we've got a lot of trainings that are investor focused. This one was more agent tailored as well, so it's great. We want to be helpful for all communities here. But awesome. So the challenge itself, can you give a breakdown on what that's going to entail, how that's going to really work, and all that?
So one thing I wanted to do, like I've gone through in the past, and I mean, I've done funnels, I've done, like webinars, I've kind of done all of these different tactics. We've done live group sessions and all this kind of stuff. And the one thing I keep coming back to, because for me, I think it's all about impact and connecting and relationships. I was like, okay, how can I make the biggest impact right now? And I mean, it's kind of the perfect timing, right? We're going into fourth quarter. People are already starting. I'm seeing business planning classes and all that kind of stuff coming up. But I was like, I want to do this a little bit different. So it's actually going to be starting. So this round, like if you're watching it right now, this round of it is going to be starting October 14th. It's going to run through the 18th. So it's going to be 5 days, and I'm going to be live where I'm actually going to be going through and breaking down step by step, day by day, this formula that I've created and I've kind of discovered inside the real estate space, how to create simplicity and consistency. And so I'm breaking that down day by day on how to earn that $10 million. So it's 90 minutes a day. There's going to be some homework and some pre-work and all that kind of stuff, but really create an engaging workshop style environment over a 5-day period. And by the end of that, you'll know exactly kind of what your next 90 days needs to look like to go out there and hit that 10 mil. So
love it, man. Yeah. I know it's something that, again, with our challenge formats we've done in the past, it just helped make really specific goals for people where it's like, hey, yeah, this big intimidating thing to get into, real estate in general, no matter what your exit strategy is, no matter what your goals are, it can be something that is always on the back burner of, oh, someday I want to try this, or someday I want to do this. Having a challenge to get a very specific time frame of, hey, really focus on this, and here's that next step, and really work on this in this very specific goal, like really focusing, kind of removing all the shiny objects, removing all the things that you could be doing, and really giving you very clear action steps, has helped people a tremendous amount. So love to be able to provide that on our end, and then see you doing that as well, especially on the agent side. I love Loopy G. Awesome, man. Appreciate the shout out too. Yeah, I just got it. We just had an interview with Kong Lee. Great guy out of we were at a conference together, and he was catching up on some recent deals I had done. So really appreciate that, man. Thanks for the shout out. Awesome. So Nathan, something too, I know there have been so much, just I'd say in the last 12 months, so much in the news that people have heard about, when it comes to the real estate industry, agents, everything going on in that world. Like, what are some of the biggest challenges facing agents today? And then how can an approach like this challenge really help them, overcome those and really, be kind of a go-to expert in your market?
Oh, good question. So, what is the news, right? Like I saw a post today and someone was asking, do you watch the news or not? And I quit watching the news 20 years ago. I don't know about you, but I turned it off, and there's a reason I turned it off. And sometimes, like even now, that kind of messaging can still come through that might be negative, right? So with the recent changes around like commission and the buyer like representation and all of that stuff that's kind of come down the pipe, we've got the perfect storm of inflation, and interest rates are going up, and the other day they just dropped, but they spiked up again. Like it's all over, right? I think for me, being an eternal optimist, I don't really see a challenge here. I just see it's a little bit different. And I think if agents right now feel like they're struggling, or maybe their production has slipped, it might actually just be from a very simple thing. I know I was working with a client, and we started back in May, and just the mentality, the mindset, after being in the years or in the business for decades, kind of slipped a little bit, and it happens, right? It happens to all of us. And yet, as we kind of went through this formula that I'm going to lay out in the challenge and stuff, and kind of understood that, like starting, like had barely closed 2 transactions this year, and one of them was a referral. And the year before prior, closing 20 plus deals. Like it was just a big challenge. And so starting to feel that level of invisibility and just hiding in the market. I think that's a lot of the news that's going on now. Like in the last 90 days, like generated over $7 million in volume. Like I'm like, come on, let's go. So it was good. But sometimes we just got to shake our mentality up a little bit and choose to focus on something that actually helps us move forward, right? Mm-hmm. Going back to what we talked about, and you said this with the getting out there and being a little innovative and stuff, and you don't know where it's going to lead. It's mm-hmm. taking action, right? Like you take little steps of action. And I shared a post. I don't know if you watch movies or not. I did growing up. I love movies and stuff. But you ever seen the movie What About Bob?
No, I know the movie, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Anyways, well, the whole premise of the movie is baby steps, right? Like he has this counselor. He's afraid to leave his apartment, but he keeps going to this counselor, and it's like his one go-to thing where he leaves. Mm-hmm. But by the end of the movie, like spoiler alert, it's like 20 plus years old. So if you haven't seen it, he just constantly makes this progress. And I think that's where we're at today. Sometimes if you feel like you're struggling, you're feeling invisible, you don't know what to do, there's so much technology and so much noise that's coming at you, it kind of puts you in like a paralysis analysis mode. Like come back to the simple and just focus on one thing that's going to help you take small actions. And when you create that simplicity from the get-go, it becomes very easy to scale in the future without getting overwhelmed.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's something too. I mean, I know, regardless of what's going on in like in the news, like you said, or in the industry, overall, just in general, in the real estate industry, or how sellers are thinking at the time, or regulations that are coming through, court, decisions, regardless of what's going on out there. The one thing that you can control is how you present yourself, how your own mindset, how hard you work, your focus there. And if you can own that, a lot of these other things really it's an opportunity. Like a lot of those other things can even scare off the more casual people or say, oh, I don't want to get into that, and like create less competition. It's the people who are serious and focused and building the right systems and the right processes that have a great opportunity to shine through and kind of become one of the go-to standouts in their market. So I see it as an opportunity. But
I agree 100%. I was going back and forth, and I was messaging back and forth with an agent. And, you know, after 15 years of being in the business, having a great business, like having to throw in the towel because it just that mindset and that I don't know, the drive or whatever was gone, like the passion was gone. And it breaks my heart seeing stuff like that because, you know, with the impact and the business that's been grown over the last over 15 years, like that's a legacy right there, especially in real estate. And just to see it thrown in, like just because of a mentality or just a desire not to do it because it's getting hard. Like sometimes we got to have that checkup from the neck up. And when we get back out there and we get into our mindset of like, no, this is good. Like I can do this. Again, going back to a movie quote, one of my favorites is from A League of Their Own, Jimmy Dugan. The hard is what makes it great. Right.
Yep.
Sometimes we got to go through the hard. And yet on the other side of hard, I mean, it's nice, right? Like it's really nice because a lot of things have come in place that click and that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the journey like that. And I mean, that's what's so great about having this kind of community, like, you know, school and challenges like this is something, there's that thing to help you lead with that action, to give you that confidence, to help you step up your game to the next level. Do you have any specifics you could be able to share? I know we're going to really get into it in the challenge itself, but any specifics on how to build those systems and processes, like, you know, any kind of like general advice or tips there for people, and maybe a little bit of a teaser kind of going into the challenge here?
Ooh, let's see. What can I drop here? So there's so much that's going to go into this, and I'm going to break down kind of like the philosophy that I have. But one thing I've always done really well is like see problems, see challenges, see complex situations, and be able to backtrack it back to a very simple formula. And one of those things, it's just keep it as simple as the ABCs, right? And when you go back to the elementary and the fundamentals of learning, like I think when you implement those things and keep out the complexity, like our industry has always thrown complexity at us because what works for one person may not work for you. And that's kind of what bugs me about our industry a little bit, because everybody out there is a coach and a guru and everything else, but they don't teach the core and the foundation of how to really build stuff. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the math problem. I created this formula that seems extremely complex, and I've taught this to other businesses outside of real estate, and it absolutely applies. But when you break this down and you understand the philosophy around the core of business, like it's a game changer. And I've seen so many light bulbs come on and go, whoa, you know, and so that's what I do. But by doing this, it actually helps you frame your unique way of being able to go and find your way of doing real estate and not somebody else's. And that's what the formula, the ABC formula, is all about. So there's a teaser for you.
Yeah, love that, man. Yeah, I know we're coming up on time here, so I really, really appreciate you coming on, jumping on, and sharing this with our community. I know we're going to be excited to get involved with the challenge and everything, and I loved recording the training with you, the other day as well. But what's the best way for people to get in touch with you? Is it through that school community, or can you make sure to let people know how to get, contact you direct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really big on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. It's all about business and connections and all that kind of stuff. So you can just go find me on there. Just search Nathan Daniel, and I should pop up. Of course, where I communicate most often is going to be inside the school community. So if you're in real estate, if you're a real estate agent, would love to have you there. You can go on school or just go to RealEstateSkool.pro, and would love to set up a call with you and connect that way. So.
Fantastic, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, it's been a long time coming, so I was excited to have you on, and really appreciate your approach to mindset, how you see opportunities, how you keep going, and regardless of what the market's doing, like keep figuring things out. So it's inspiring for our community, and appreciate you coming on, man.
Absolutely, man. And my last word of advice to everybody: just keep going. Just keep going. You got this.
Love it. There we go. And that was Nathan here and Matt Camp with DealMachine. Everybody get out there. Happy deal finding, guys.